Welcome into Scotting Movies. Today we're going to break down a comedy from '88, a comedy con caper, all those C's. It's a movie called The Couch Trip, starring Dan Aykroyd, Charles Grodin, and Walter Matthau. Uh, Let me tell you, this movie is not trying to win any awards, and there is an audience for this kind of movie. The brainless, don't think too hard about it, just sit there and laugh kind of movie. Uh, Movies make tens and hundreds of millions of dollars off that kind of movie, and so there's certainly an audience for it. But I'm going to break it down today. Again, let's get ready to embrace the chaos and get into it. So the couch trip is basically one big con game. Dan Aykroyd plays John Burns, who's a mental patient who manages to escape from an institution, somehow convince a Los Angeles radio station that he's this famous therapist that's taking over while the other one is out on kind of a mental health leave. Uh, that's the entire premise. No elaborate disguises, no clever cover stories, just a whole lot of fast talking people who uh, are make it incredibly easy to fool people into thinking that he is who he says he is. So, and that's what makes the movie fun. Really, it's not trying to be smart. It's not trying to be subtle. It's not trying to win an Academy Award for screenwriting or acting or anything like that. It's just broad, goofy comedy, and it leans into the absurdity of it all. Like I said, there's a market for this kind of movie, and in a lot of ways, people love the kind of movie where you can turn off your brain and just laugh at a funny, absurd movie like this. And so, if you're in the mood for a comedy that doesn't ask you to think too hard, The Couch Trip is a pretty good choice because it is funny. There are several um, lines and there's several instances in this movie that are genuinely laugh out loud funny. Most of it is because of the star of the show, Dan Aykroyd. This role is tailor made for him. He's got that signature rapid fire delivery where he just rattles off a ton of words in a short amount of time. It's like he's making it up off the top of his head. And given that he's a Saturday Night Live alum, you can bet that some of it was improvised on the spot. It just feels like that. Uh, he has the confidence to just say these ridiculous lines. His fake therapist persona is refreshingly blunt, and I think I think a lot of people would actually want this from their therapist. Not necessarily the meanness that he displays, but the unfiltered, brutal honesty, without descending into psychobabble or anything like that. That they're actually speaking exactly what they think, and that's what draws all of these people in Los Angeles to listen to this new therapist because he tells them exactly what he thinks, unfiltered and all, including curse words, including calling people out on exactly what they're doing wrong. It's again refreshingly honest, and it resonates with the callers more than the real doctor ever did. So it's like this movie is poking fun at the whole self help industry, and it works. It's funny. In fact, those are probably the best moments of this movie, is when he's being this therapist on online, or not online, on a call, a radio station, taking people's calls and just telling them exactly what he thinks. Um, he also has this one day where he orders everyone gets therapy for free and just show up and uh, get your uh, get your few minutes of unfiltered therapy and move on. And it's funny. There's some funny moments as that, but it's not just Dan Aykroyd. Walter Matthau is in it as well, and he plays this grumpy, lovable con artist that's disguised as a priest. And they bounce off each other really well. Walter Matthau and Dan Aykroyd, they seem to get each other's energy, and it's a fun little interplay there. It's comedy gold. Uh, Not every character lands in the movie though. Poor old Charles Grodin. Usually he's a master of deadpan comedy. We'll talk about him in another movie in just a couple of days that he really landed. But um, here he's his character's cranked up to these cartoonish levels as Dr. Maitland, the original doctor in that Dan Aykroyd is taking the place of. It's like watching a Looney Tunes character trying to be a therapist. It's just he's so cranked up to this insane level that it doesn't land. It doesn't work. Charles Grodin is a great actor. He's a great comedy actor, but the screenplay doesn't do him any favors here, and he's just told to be as neurotic and as cartoonishly whatever as possible. David Clennon plays Dr. Baird, who Dan Aykroyd impersonates in order to get this job filling in for Dr. Maitland. David Clennon is his character as the real Dr. Baird is written so cluelessly that you'll start wondering how he ever made it through medical school. He is that dumb, and that's the case for all of these deceptions. I mean, Dan Aykroyd's character is able to walk into an airport, say, "I think you have tickets waiting for me. My name is Dr. Baird," and they just hand him tickets, and he walks to the airplane. I understand it was a little different. That airport security was a little bit different in 1988, but still, I don't think you'd be able to do that. That's just it too easy. And then he's able to convince, without any credentials of any kind, that he is who he says he is at the radio station. Just jump on the air, say whatever he wants, and no one cuts him off. No one edits it. There's a 3-second delay on radio stations for exactly that reason. Uh, and so nothing of that sort happens. In order for any of this to work, every single character has to have the IQ of a pineapple. And it's just, again, you have to turn off your brain. You can't think about it too hard like I just did. Uh, None of it really matters, though, because the couch trip doesn't care about this logic at all. As I said, uh, all of these different ways that he cons people without any kind of credentials, without any kind of costumes or anything like that. I mean, he's walking around in jail issued pants. No one questions it. No background checks, no verification, nothing. And the movie expects you to just go with it. And honestly, that's kind of part of the charm. Again, shut off your brain and laugh at the movie. If you want to do that, this movie's great. It's just when you start thinking about it too much that it becomes bogged down by all of its inaccuracies and inconsistencies. And um, so the one thing that it has going for it beyond all of that is that the pacing is just right for this kind of movie. Even if a joke misses the mark or you start thinking about it, there's another joke lined up right in the barrel, and that's coming right at you. You don't have time to think because the movie just throws jokes at you 100% of the time. Sometimes that's exactly what you need. Some of them land, some of them don't. But it's like a stand-up comedy where he's just rattling jokes off one by one by one by one. You don't have time to think about the last one before the next one comes around. Again, that's a nice way to hide the illogical part of this movie. So, wrapping this up, what would I give the couch trip as far as a rating goes? Um, Again, it really depends what kind of movie lover you are. If you like these movies that don't make any sense, but you can just laugh at them all. I am trying to review this from a filmmaking standpoint and not just if you're this kind of person, what would you rate it? And you're that kind of person, what would you rate it? But what would the consensus be? And so I'm gonna give this a C minus because again, it's not a great film. It's just funny, and not every joke lands. And then there's just a bunch of illogical stuff that's going on. C minus is probably the best rating to give this one. But again, have you seen it? Have you seen the couch trip? And did you laugh your butt off watching it? Did it work for you, or do you agree with me that some of the absurdity and is just way too leaning into the IQ deficiencies of the other characters? That's it for Scotting Movies. Join me next time as I deep dive into another movie. See ya.